everybody, my name is Megan. You're watching Miss Megan Knits. Links to everything I talk about will be in the description box below. First, I'm going to apologize for my wet hair. I showered, I'm a human. And I'm also going to apologize if you can hear the dishwasher in the background. I do dishes, I'm a human. So, how is everybody today? I'm actually doing okay. We've finally gotten a couple of good sunny days. It's almost feeling like spring, which is kind of crazy because we haven't had snow yet. We had like a dusting one point early in the winter, but then that was it. So that's a little interesting. But anyway, it's finally sunny. It had been gray and rainy and just disgusting. And you know when that happens, your mood just kind of goes south because it's like gray and rainy and disgusting outside. There's no sunshine and everything. But now there is so much sunshine. I don't even have the overhead light on in here, and I feel like I'm plenty lit. Oh, Bear just texted me. Okay, I'm gonna ignore him. Yeah, my laptop's all the way upstairs, and I'm filming on my phone. So if he texts me again with something important, then I'll of course answer him. Sorry it's been a little bit late. School was going strong, really well. I'm really excited about it. I'm having a good time. I'm taking a psych course and a history course, both online. I'm working on my associate's degree in biology right now. I don't know if anyone else knows. And I'm planning to transfer to a four-year college once I get the associate's degree to work on my bachelor's. So that's kind of where I am. But right now it's a psych course and a history course to get me kind of in the swing of things and back in school. I've been out for kind of a while. I'm feeling pretty good. Not quite caffeinated enough. I only got 1 cup of coffee this morning. So it's also worth mentioning that I am working with an outline again. When I first started doing my videos, I did an outline just to make sure I talked about everything. And then for my later videos, I haven't done one. And I've gotten some feedback that it's good that I haven't done one because it's more like I'm talking to someone and not at someone. I'm not like reading a script. But also, I've noticed that in my videos I've forgotten to mention like what yarn I used or what size needle it is or something like that. So I wrote a little outline with very vague notes on it. That way I can still talk and elaborate and be myself. But also I will not forget to mention that, you know, I'm using size 4 needles on my pie shawl. Alright, so speaking of that pie shawl, basically that's what I've been working on, and I'll show it to you a little bit later. I do have one FO, and I'm going to do that first because my FOs usually come first. But basically the pie shawl has been taking up most of my time. And I'm still working on the applied border. It's taking forever. I'll talk to you about it later. My first FO is this Valentine's Day hat. I cast this on Valentine's Day and finished it either the next day or 2 days after. I cast it on because I needed something I could knit in the car on a road trip up to Boston. We went to the Science Museum, Bear and I did, and for Valentine's Day as like a date. And it was really fun. I hadn't been there since I was a kid, so it was really cool to see like the lightning show. They have a lightning show. They make lightning in the building and they zap things with it, and it's pretty cool. So if you're ever in Boston, you haven't been to the Science Museum, check it out. It's great for kids, but I found it really entertaining as an adult as well. The only problem is it gets kind of crowded sometimes, so like when we were there we didn't get to like really interact with all the exhibits because there were a bunch of children running around, which is fine, that's what it's for, but it was a little annoying, so. But anyway, Valentine's Day hat. I was knitting this in the car on the way up there. It's just a basic ribbed beanie made out of scraps. So these are just leftover super bulky yarns I had kicking around back from the days when I only knit with super bulky yarns and I stashed up on them. Those were the days, man, back when I was learning to knit and I tried to do just really bulky needles and bulky yarn for everything. I feel like we all have that stage. Maybe not, maybe it's just me. So for this hat, the pattern, I made it up, but I'll tell you what I did. I'm looking at my notes. It's a 2x2 rib. I cast on 48 stitches with a German twisted cast on, because that's my favorite cast on for stretchy brims. And I knit till it was about 11 inches or so. I got that from a knit picks chart when I googled knitting how tall to make beanie, because I don't know. I could, you know, do math, but I could just Google it. So I Googled it. And knit picks said, you know, about 11 inches or 11 and a half inches, depending on when you're making it for a man or a woman. This is purple, so I figured I'd make it ladies sized. And I knit to roundabouts 11 inches and then did decreases. I don't remember what I did for the decreases, but it couldn't have been anything fancy because it doesn't look fancy. I think I switched to stockinette for the decreases just to make it easier doing all knit stitches. Just a basic kind of spirally decrease where you Like knit 4, knit 2 together, knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together. No, 2 first. Anyway, you get my point. The yarns I used, leftover scraps of. The purple is Loops and Threads Cozy Wool in the colorway Velvet. Very beautiful purple, very tonal. I don't know if it still exists because I bought it a long time ago. I don't know if either of these yarns still exist because I bought them a long time ago. And then this kind of rainbow colored yarn is all one yarn, or this rainbow stripe is all one yarn. And that is the Premier Isaac Mizrahi Craft Satin yarn in the colorway West End. I got that as like a cheap like fashion yarn, buy a whole bunch at AC Moore, and I got like 6 skeins of it. I don't know why I'd buy 6 skeins of such a beautiful rainbow color, but I think it was the same time I bought that dishcloth cotton, if I'm remembering correctly. I have a debate about this hat. To palm or not to palm? I have pom-poms that I've made up from scraps of yarn that I don't really have enough to do anything else with, and I kind of save them and see if I find a project that works for them. And I found in my stash this. Now I'm sure I've talked about it before because I think I made it at a time when I was doing this podcast, so you've probably seen the pom-pom before. But it is made of little bits of Lion Brand's Woolies Tonal, which I got at Job Lot when it was discontinued, so it's probably discontinued, but it's just this tonal green color, bulky wool acrylic blend, so it's washable. This hat is also washable, I believe. I believe I've test washed these yarns. They're wool blends, they're wool acrylic blends, mostly acrylic, and I think I've tried washing them and succeeded, so in other projects, like tested out the yarns. But I was thinking, what do we think? What do we think? I asked Bear last time he came over. We were talking about my knitting, and he said, what do you think of this pom-pom with his hat? Did they go? And he goes, yeah, why? Did someone tell you they wouldn't go? And I was like, no, I was just wondering. Anywho, it looks pretty swell, I think. Especially because the top of this ended up green. So if I stick a green pom-pom up there, it's a different shade of green, but I think it looks kind of like it's doing a tonal thing. This beanie is rather long. It does have to fold over about that much. But it's great because you can fold it over a lot and make it more like a kid's hat, or you can fold it over not at all and make it really big and slouchy. So it's kind of cool. I'll try it on. It's nice and warm. It's nice and cozy. This is going to be a craft fair hat. Take it to my craft fair, see if it sells, see if anybody likes it. It's quick and easy. It's warm. It's nice. I'm proud of the quality of it, but also it was quick and easy, so that's really fun. We're moving on to works in progress. That is my only finished object in this past 2-3 weeks. Wow, it's been a while. I've been working on some long-term stuff, and those aren't finished yet. So, but I'm talking about my Plarn. Plarn. I have a video called All About Plarn where I talk about everything related to Plarn. I'm going to go over the basics here, as I do in all of my videos, because I'm always working on Plarn. I apologize if there's any rustling or loud crinkling noises. There shouldn't be. There haven't been when I've edited past videos, but just in case there are, sorry. So this is what I've got. This is a sleeping mat for the homeless in my community. You can lay on it and then pull it over yourself like a sleeping bag almost. It is made completely out of plastic bags, like grocery bags. For the details on how you turn the bags into yarn that you can crochet with or knit with or do whatever with, see that video. What I did for this mat was I took a bunch of plastic bags and Plarn. I used a Q hook. I chained 71, so there will be 70 stitches because when you do single crochet you use a turning chain. And basically made a big rectangle. And it's about, I don't know, about this wide, about arm's width wide, and it is about, it's going to be about 6 feet tall. So it's basically just a big rectangle, and then you do a border around the edge, which is optional, but I think it finishes off nicely, and then you add some straps, which I've been making out of either construction tape instead of Plarn, to make it extra durable, because it's a strap you're going to carry it by, so you want to make sure it'll hold up. Or some of those thicker plastic bags that they're using in my neighboring town, because they banned regular plastic bags, so they're using thicker bags that can be reused more. Those make good handles. And then also, if you use regular plastic bags, you can kind of like single crochet into it a couple of times to make a thicker, more durable strap. See the video all about Plarn? I will link it, and you can check it out, and if you're interested. You can make all kinds of things out of Plarn, not just mats for the homeless, but this is what I've been doing with my church. So it's about this big so far. I don't measure precisely to make it exactly 6 feet tall. I just know I'm about 5'7", so about 5 inches taller than me is about right when I stand up and hold it. Doesn't matter if it's exactly 6 feet on the dot, but it's close. Now into my whips that are like whips that you haven't heard about a million times. Well, okay, the pie shell I'm going to talk about, you've probably heard about it a million times. I've been working on it since Christmas, and it is kind of slow going because it's really thin yarn and size 4 needles, but it's really rewarding. It's coming out really well. I'm really impressed with it. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Oops. I've got a snag. One of my stitch markers is snagging my yarn every time I pull it out of the bag, and I'm not thrilled with it, but I don't remove the stitch marker because I'm lazy. So this is the shawl. Let me hold it up into the window so you can really see it in the light. Look at that. My goodness. So it's a pie shawl, works from the center out. Oh, before I forget, Berry Pie Shawl by Donna Dracunis, and the yarn is Cloud Brown Fibers Baby Alpaca Fingering in the shade Autumn Heather. Shade, colorway. I watch too many makeup videos. In the colorway Autumn Heather. I'm using size 4 needles for the shawl all the way through. And right now I'm working on the applied border. So I've already done the center and worked in like a rounds all the way out with all these different beautiful stitch patterns. And now I'm working on the applied border, which looks about like that all the way around. I've gotten maybe, let's see, 2/3, a little more than 2/3, a little more than a half, maybe 4/6 of the way through. That was oddly specific. But the applied border is basically a fancy bind off. So you knit in rounds all the way around, and you have all of these live stitches. And then you knit the border, and you go back and forth. And when you come back in, you do an SSK with 1 stitch from the border and 1 stitch from the shawl. And you knit out and come back in, knit, come back in. And of course there's a lace pattern. It's not just knitting. It's an 8-row lace repeat. It is beautiful. I love it. But also it's tedious and it drives me insane sometimes. So I have to take breaks from working on it to work on other things. Just because I cannot do the same 8 rows, 12 stitches over and over and over and over. Not 12 stitches, 12 to 15, she increases and decreases over and over and over again. It just drives me nuts. But it is beautiful. I will love the result. I'm already planning like what I'm gonna wear when I photograph it. Like I'm excited. So it's gonna be huge. I didn't check my gauge. I just kind of went for it, which was a risky maneuver now that I think about it, but oh well. Basically the block dimensions should be about 4 feet in diameter for the shawl. If my gauge will be a little off, probably it's highly unlikely it's exact, so maybe mine will be a little smaller, a little bigger, but close to 4 feet. So I'm gonna have to, I don't know how to wear it. How do you wear a circle? Like the pattern shows it like wrapped around you, and it's really sweet. Or the lady who's modeling it, it's really cool. And then you can kind of like fold it in half, I guess, or something. I will figure it out. Yeah, so that's my pie shawl. I'm very excited to show it off and finish it, and it's very soft, it's very squishy. I like this yarn a lot. I don't work with natural fibers enough, so it's just nice to pet. I'm petting it right now, you can't see, I think. Yeah. So it's my pie shawl. Berry Pie Shawl, Donna Dracunis. I got the kit from Blueprint, in case anybody's curious. This is a cloud-worn fiber, so maybe people knew already, but my mom got the kit from Blueprint for me for Christmas, and I've been knitting on it since then. It's a long time. Because because it's marked now. Because it's Christmas, it's marked now. So my next whip, I have the Gully Glass by Kelly McClure. Now that's what the pattern is on Ravelry. If you want to buy the pattern a la carte or directly from Ravelry, that's what you search for, Gully Glass by Kelly McClure. I got this pattern from a magazine, and it's a little bit different in the magazine. This is an interview publication. This is Quick and Easy Knits. And this is the, let's see, Winter 2017 edition. So I got this a while ago. I've had it in my stash of patterns. I've knit a pair of these before. They're not around here. But I've knit a pair of these before. I've shown them on a podcast. I think my first podcast I showed them. I was proud of them. This is the pattern. Now this pattern comes with two versions. It comes with a version where you have the welts all the way up, like thumbholes like this. And then there's a version where you have a garter stitch cuff, which is the version I'm doing. Now, the version on Ravelry has even more options. You can add a thumb, you can add short or long, there's like a whole bunch more customization you can do. So if you want this pattern, I would probably recommend going straight to Ravelry for it instead of trying to hunt down this magazine. I will link both the Ravelry page and where you can buy this magazine from Interweaves Archives, depending on if you want the other patterns in the magazine or something. But probably if you only want that pattern, get the pattern a la carte. It's cheaper and easier. I actually don't know if it's cheaper, but it's probably cheaper. Anywho, I've already finished one. I think last time I podcasted, I was on the applied border cuff. And this has worked very much the same way as that pie shawl. You work in rounds all the way up. And then you have live stitches, and then you work the cuff this way. Except this is just a garter stitch cuff. And you do knit two togethers instead of SSKs. Oh, the dog's barking, or growling, or making noise. She's playing with her toy. But that's how it goes. So I'm going to try it on, show you how it works. It came out a little bit small. I had knit the same size before with these same needles years ago, and came out with it a little bit bigger and roomier than this. So my attention must have changed. This is the size small. I do have pretty small wrists, so it fits me pretty well, but some other normal human adult, maybe not. I might have to work this as a child size, because this is also for a craft fair. I'm trying to build some inventory. I'm trying to do a craft fair. I really want to, so this will also go there. And it's made of scraps, so I didn't spend an extra dime on any of these. These are all things I had laying around. And the second one is going to match. So you see how the stripes match? So with the other pair I did them kind of random. But this one I wanted them to match. I think it looks a little funky already with the weird color choices. I think they're cool. They're like galaxy inspired, but I think it looks a little funky already, so I don't want to push it. So these yarns, I'm going to run up through the list of yarns. These are all scraps that I had left over from previous projects. We have Lion Brand Feels Like Butter in brown. We have Karen 1 pound in teal. We have Peyton's Peyton's Classic Wool. We have Peyton's Classic Wool worsted. I'm not sure what the colorway is. This is Broca Love It. This is Darn Good Yarn Recycled Silk. All these are on my project page, by the way, so if you want to find the actual name and link to the yarn, that's where they are. Another, the purple, same thing up here, is the Peyton's Classic Wool worsted. This is final one. Ooh, what's that called? Karen Simply Soft and Dark Country Blue. That's what I know. That's all I remember off the top of my head. The Darn Good Yarn one is a little bulkier than the rest, so you can see it makes a little bit bigger of a welt, but I don't mind it. Oh, speaking of welts, in this magazine, the pattern is called Welted Knits by Kelly McClure. It's the same pattern, as far as I know. It's even linked on Ravelry as like shows up in this magazine, and you can get to it there. So, I don't know why it's called something different, but it's called something different. Either way, stunning pattern. I really like it. The ones I made for me, I wear all the time. I get tons of compliments. Although it's noted the pattern doesn't give you instructions for how to change the colors. I changed colors on the third knit round, the last knit round. That way they didn't show up on the purl side of the welts. And that's all I did. I had a bunch of ends to weave in, like a bunch. And I posted that on Reddit about like, oh, look at my ends. I gotta weave in a lot of ends. And people are like, oh, try a Russian join, try a magic ball, try weaving ends as you go. The Russian join and magic ball, I don't know how I get the colors to line up exactly perfectly, and that would irk me. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And then the knitting ends as you go, my last pair, I did one where I wove in all the ends at the end, and one where I knit the ends as I go. And I found that I really didn't like knitting in the ends as I went. It was clunky, and then I found also that after wearing the gloves for a while, the little ends started to poke through. And I'm not sure if that's because that was mainly acrylic, but whatever the reason is, I didn't like it very much. So I'm sticking to weaving in the ends at the very end, all at once. With my trusty desk lamp on a table with my tapestry mill. Wild zebra. So I am making, I think if you recall where we left off last week, I was trying to decide whether to make a stuffed animal or a blanket. I picked a stuffed animal. I picked the zebra because it looked easier than the giraffe. This is the book I'm using, Cuddly Animals to Crochet 28 Cute Toys to Make, Cute Toys to Make and Love by Lucia Forthman. The pattern I'm using is, I'm going to turn it so you can't see the instructions, obviously, because I paid for this book. Agatha the Zebra. Now, she gave me the idea of using a multicolored yarn instead of just black for the zebra, and I thought that was so cute, so I did a little different kind of multicolored yarn, but I think it's coming out really well, so I'm excited. But that's the zebra. The yarns I'm using are, pull this one out with the label, Bernat Premium, Bittersweet Variegated. So that's it. My dad picked this yarn out actually when we were at Job Lot, and there was a bunch of skeins of it. We bought 5 skeins, so I've used a lot of this in a blanket, and I'm using some of it now. He really liked the colors for some reason, and he's like, I'm picking this out. I'm like, okay, I will do something with it. But I'm really liking it now that I'm using it. I don't use variegated yarns very much because they intimidate me, but this one's coming out really well, even though it's really wild colors. So, and then the white is just some Red Heart Super Saver that I received from a woman who passed on, who was a crocheter. Her daughter wanted to give her mother's things to someone who would use them, so I have. It's going to be a zebra, Lillian, I hope you're happy. I hope it's satisfying to you that it's going to be a zebra, and you're not like, oh no, the zebra, what an abomination. I don't know why you would think that it's just a zebra. But. So this is the head, and I think there's a little divot where the eyes are supposed to go, but it's hard to find. I think it's right there. So this is the head. So this is the nose. It kind of swirled, and then as I stopped increasing, it pooled. Which I think is really cool. And then once I started striping it with the white, it kind of did that, which is also pooling, but it's just cool looking. And you can see my seam. She has us doing a slip stitch join instead of continuous rounds. Some of her patterns are continuous rounds, some of them are slip stitch joined. This one's slip stitch joined. There's a seam, but because the head's going to sit kind of that way on the body, you won't be able to see the seam. So I'm not too worried about it, but there's definitely a seam right there. She also says in her instructions, and this might be a thing that I'm kind of a novice crocheter, so I don't know about this, but she says chain 1 and turn when we're working in rounds. And it's like, I don't generally turn when I'm working in a round, because you work around and around and around. But I'm not sure if I'm supposed to turn it and start working inside out back the other way, or what. But my last pattern of hers I made was platypus, and I didn't turn, and it turned out just beautifully, so I'm not worried about it. This one's turning out really well too, so. But if anybody has any like clarification of how that's supposed to work, let me know in the comments below. And then this is the body, which is about this big. I'm in the process of closing it up. I just stuffed it. So that's going to sit kind of like this. Hold my hands properly. There we go. And then there's going to be ears and some hairs, I think. Yeah. And some legs and some arms. It's going to be a cute zebra. It's got a comically large head, but that's fine. I like comically large heads. They're cartoon animals. They're cute. And this one had the coolest pooling too, because it's striped with the white, but it just did diagonal kind of swirly things. So it's like color blocked. And I think this is the seam, right? So then this will be the front of the zebra, and this will be the back that you'll see. Super cute zebra. Although I guess I could turn it any way I want because it's a cylinder, right? There's no upside. So I could kind of play around with it, make it go like this. That'd be really cool. That looks really cool. Okay. Anyway, I am using a 3.0 millimeter hook. If I can get it out of the bag. 3 millimeter hook. This is from the Knit Picks Bright Crochet Hook set. It's an aluminum hook with a rubber handle. I like the grip on it. The problem is I tend to crochet with my thumb on the aluminum part, which is fine until my thumb gets sweaty and then it sticks and it makes little squeaky noises. And that's kind of a pain for anyone sitting next to me. I have some plastic hooks I could use, but I really like the grip on this one. So if you're someone who doesn't mind using aluminum needles and hooks, you won't have a problem. I have an issue with aluminum needles and hooks. So maybe this wasn't the wisest purchase for me, and I should have purchased a wooden hook or a plastic hook or something like that. But these are the nicest ones I have, so I'm using them. But I'm using 3.0 millimeters because for my platypus, which I also made with worsted weight yarn, I used a 2.5 millimeter hook, and that made everything really stiff, not very cuddly. It didn't feel right. It worked fine, but it's not huggable. So I went up a hook size, or up half a millimeter. And this zebra is much more squishy and cuddly, but it's still tight enough with my gauge, with my personal tension, so the stuffing doesn't come out. So this is going to be my new worsted weight hook size. Speaking of worsted weight, the pattern for the zebra is for bulky weight yarn. I am using worsted because that's what I had on hand, that's what I wanted to use, and I know that if you use the right size hook for your yarn, everything will just kind of scale down. So I'm not worried about that, but if you are someone who wants to get the exact dimensions in the book, then you're going to need bulky weight yarn. Okay, one more thing. I am working on a design right now for the gooseberry shawl based off Gooseberry Island, a little island near me. I'm kind of be open about my design process and what I'm doing and what I'm going through to design this, because I think it's important to see things that other people are doing to get creative inspiration, and it's important to kind of like help each other out, you know. If anybody has a tip for me about something I'm doing wrong or whatever, then definitely tell me, because I definitely want to know. I think a lot of designers kind of keep their designs really secret until they're out and it's a big reveal, but that's not really my style, so I'm going to tell you about my design. So I've been talking about my gooseberry shawl for a little while. What I'm working on now, I have finished the written instructions for the stitches, like the glossary at the back. And then I have finished most of the written instructions for the shawl, except for the very last couple of rows that are repeated for the waves pattern at the bottom. That one's a little tricky to write down, so I'm still trying to make sure I'm getting that all correct. I have it charted, because that's how I work best, is with charts. So I've charted it out, and it looks great, but I need to figure out how to write it. So that's kind of my struggle right now. I've been working on it. It's coming together. I'm not hopelessly lost. It's just a little tricky. I'm also working on turning some of my written stitch patterns into charts, because a lot of the books I'm using have stitch patterns that are not charted. And I like charts. I'm a chart person. I want to include charts in my pattern. I also want to include written instructions so that it's most accessible to everyone. But when I'm following the pattern to knit up my first sample, I am going to be using the charts. I'll probably use both, but mostly charts, because that's my preferred method. So I have some charts. I'm working on what symbols I want to use. I had to chart, like for example, this is linen stitch. So I charted out over a couple of repeats, a couple of stitches, trying to figure out what I'm doing, and then realized it's really just this. That's it, that's all it is. Swedish block stitch looks like that. Pebble stitch looks like that. I'm using M's. I looked at the Craft Yarn Council for their recommended symbols, and M's were like a make one, and the pebble stitch isn't really a make one because you're not twisting the stitch when you pick it up to knit through it. You just knit through it and it makes like a yarn over in the row below. I'm using an M because I didn't find any symbol for that stitch other than that kind of make one M, but I'm going to define it in my glossary as like, when I use an M, that's what I mean. And I'll use the other symbols for make one left and make one right if I need to, so that's not a big deal. I actually don't know if there are any make ones in this shawl. There might not be. There are some funky stitches in some of the stitch patterns in the middle because they turn out really cool. Like I got a shell stitch going on, and I've got an arrowhead stitch going on with a big slip stitch up the middle, and all kinds of cool stuff. So we will see, but I'm working on charting some of the ones that don't have charts. And yeah, once I get the charts done and the written instructions done, I'm going to photocopy over my charts onto a piece of paper. That way I can use my chart keeper or some highlighter tape or something to keep track of them without getting like ink, graphite all over everything. So photocopy page would be nice. And then I'm going to actually buy yarn and cast on. I'm using size 5 needles, which is what I did for all of my little swatches of patterns as I was trying to test out which stitches I wanted to include. And that's how that's going. So it's pretty cool. I'm really excited. Hopefully the next time I see you, I will have most of the charts and the patterns done. I haven't had a lot of time to really sit and think really hard about knitting because I've been doing a lot of school, I've been doing a lot of chores, and it's been really difficult to find time to just relax, where I didn't want to just relax with something I'm working on instead of trying to knit, and so trying to design something, because that's a little difficult. So it's going kind of slow, but it's going at a good pace for me, and that's what matters. Also, my question is, how does one go about finding people to test and review and check your pattern? Most of the patterns that have been so far have been so simple that I could knit them a couple times and make sure everything worked out right and everything's good, and publish them without too much worries. But this shawl is pretty complicated, and it's a good chance I'll mess something up or miss something or typo or whatever, and I want people to be able to kind of look at that and make sure that I'm presenting a good quality product by the time I publish it. So I don't know how to find these people. I'm kind of isolated in the knitting community. This YouTube channel is how I get out to people, but I don't have a lot of fellow knitters who are doing this kind of thing around me that I can talk to. So if anybody's got any help, ideas, boards to point me to, Ravelry groups to send me in, that would be really helpful. So let me know. Alrighty. I think this is going to be it for this time. It's kind of a short one, but if it was short, you know? Thank you so much for watching. Links to everything I talk about in the description box below. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time I make a video. Bye!